That's so right in here.
Yeah. Do they echoes? Nope. Alright. Everybody else set? Okay, great. So I'm gonna start off with the financials and everything. We're starting the meeting up, so we're gonna. Right, so first off, move the abstract.
Second that.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Right. Next we got some budget mods. Move those.
I'll second.
Or any questions?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Great. Then we got the highway department.
I would like some permission, resolution to sell. I have a 2012 Western Star 10-wheeler. I'll just go through all of them.
Yeah, I'm gonna show.
I have a 2007 Volvo, it's a 10-wheeler also. I have a 2019 Chevy. It's a small dump truck. Also have a 2008 GMC dump truck. Like to sell all those. I would like the money to go into my DA 2665 reserve. Is that what that is?
Yeah, it's not, that's what we talked about. Is that-
Yes, that's where it's going.
Okay, so it's not-
She said,
So it's not reserves, it's sales of equipment.
Okay.
Thanks, sir.
the other thing to get rid of, I don't know what you want me to do, but decent chairs for that room. And the old wooden junk chairs. We would like to get rid of. I don't know how we have to go about that, but they've been there since.
Town was founded.
It was the judge. Yeah, I mean, we've got all the metal ones, are still good, we can keep those, but there's some wooden ones and some. Little gray ones, all if anybody wants them, I'll be more than happy to put them.
We'll just put them out at the curb and say free.
I'll do that up here.
It'd be
Gotta
gone.
keep it clean down there. But,
Give to Jason.
I find
No.
couple of them have some old tags on them. I really can't read the numbers, so I don't know how to remove them from inventory.
We don't keep inventory of that.
That's small, minor.
Oh, there's stickers on them, that's what I was saying. Okay,
No, yeah.
so can I just go ahead and get rid of them?
Yeah. So we got, so first let's move the resolution so you can sell those vehicles.
I'll make the motion.
And you have the, well, you have the VIN number, well, you're gonna put them out with the.
I got all the
website.
numbers that I gotta get.
Yeah. Yeah.
All in favor? Sorry, I reverted to read.
Oh, yeah,
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
yes, all right,
Thank you.
so then the next one would be. You have two resolutions to purchase.
Yeah, I have the one purchase is, we have, when we bought the Western Star, we originally priced it in 2022.
Yeah,
Things didn't compute, I mean, obviously we got it, prices went up. The amount of increase is $49,812, so I'd like a resolution to approve the new 2024 funds. Not to exceed $50,000 to complete the payment of the truck.
all right, I'll move that.
Second.
Person voted on that?
Yes.
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 Yes. And then the next one is for the mower.
Yep. Like a resolution to purchase. New roadside mower. Massey Ferguson 5711. With the, we're gonna swap out with the ag tires on because of the way it sits on the road, it's just, we don't really care. With an offset flail on it and a rotary mower, not to exceed $205,000. That will come out of.
So it's more than like a little Craftsman.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, about the 5130.
okay. Move it.
Second.
Yeah,
Councilperson Martin notice.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
yes,
And the last thing I have is, we met with David Walowski today. He's from, the U.S. Department of Agricultural and Dams. And it's coming up that we have to do our, watershed rehabilitation program, the assessments on the dam. And so, a few months ago, I called him, we talked to him, and I put in for a grant. And I have a notice of the grant agreement award of $38,700 to go towards all the engineering. And I mean, there may be a small cost when we're done, but it'll cover $38,000.
Okay.
So we're in pretty good shape there. Now, when the work comes, we'll have to find another grant, but it should be.
yeah,
That's
okay.
that's all I got.
And you haven't heard anything, the DEC, have they ever reached out to you about the Dryden Lake Dam at all?
Negative.
Okay, because they,
I could call him and talk to him. I
yeah,
know that I had to go out there and twist it out so that the water wasn't going to flush over the bridge. They have to
Yeah.
build the boreholes.
mhm,
Everything seemed to be moving because we had to go out and dig it in the middle of the winter for some unknown reason. We still haven't touched it. So.
Yeah.
Well, I can make some calls, depending on where we're at with it. or you can-
we could probably both do it, because they send me things about the budget, and there was some document about them going into design last year, but haven't heard a thing since.
Well, once you get engineers involved, you never know what's.
Right, because I know they ID'd it as a potential spillway for flooding in the village. Like, they're aware of the risk downstream of if it burst, you know, so that's not that, because there was a guy who came last month
Yeah, and I
talking about
I
it.
did have someone on the conservation board who's, so John said, indicated that. And I would need, I'm not gonna get more detail, that there may be a benefit to actually removing the dam.
No, well.
I'm just saying, I've heard that, so I don't know. if that-
Yeah, that last time that happened, there were like rallies, you know, save the day. So. We don't need that again. Yeah, that
Just
was,
say that.
yeah, it was. No, we're keeping the van. They're gonna rebuild it. We just need to make sure they rebuild it to deal with flooding too.
Okay,
They were supposed to have the money, because that was the conversations.
Yeah.
When I made comment, they said, well, you guys gonna rebuild it, and I said, no. Because
Yeah.
ours, we have the lease for
At least for the park, but they owe the dam.
$1 for 50 years or something like that, and they said,
Something like that.
we do all that. And that's why I don't understand why, you know, they sent people out and started things and left us.
Yeah,
Haven't heard them, so.
yep,
I'll look into it.
okay,
And that,
yeah, makes sense.
perfect, thanks.
Chris.
Sent y'all a few emails, any questions on? Any of them? Okay, I'm gonna be attending what's called a peer support training beginning of April. That's put on by the county in response to concerns that they've seen and heard of regarding the county's emergency responders, mental health, substance abuse, things like that. Also, I guess the latest statistics showing that suicide is now one of the leading causes of death for firefighters. So there's gonna be a group set up by the county. It's a 2-day training, so I'm gonna go to that. I've been working with Alice Green, that I think you probably all know, to see about the possibility of getting both free energy audits and possibly even grants so that the heating, cooling and lighting in some of the town's fire stations can get updated. And I've been working with several Varna members to see if they could develop a class for all the town's fire departments regarding physical fitness in a very low key way. They're quite excited about it. One member works as a physical therapist, so she's, keenly aware of movement and all that. And the other is a personal trainer. So that's something that's in the works.
Okay.
Questions?
We have an upcoming strategic planning
Uh-huh.
training session that we've been
Right.
excited about and that the town put money towards. How is the sign up going for that?
Well, I sent a save the date thing out to all the fire chiefs, I don't know, maybe a month ago, and then when was it, 4 or 5 days ago, I sent all of you and all the people that will be in and the people that are coming identified as, the people that really needed to be here, such as the chief, deputy chief, and the chair of the board of directors for all the fire departments. Thus far, Dan, I've heard back from you. So
So it's a bit under enrolled.
it's a bit under,
Okay,
yeah,
well, I'm
yes,
glad some of our friends from the fire departments are here tonight. Maybe we can bring this up.
okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, if anybody is either planning on going or can't go, I guess if you can let me know tonight, because
Yeah.
I've got to get the numbers to the 3 gentlemen that are coming here, so they have enough training materials and also so that I can arrange for the right amount of food. And I'm not quite sure how this works, but do I need to get some sort of resolution from you folks to buy things like coffee and donuts and lunches for everybody?
I thought that was just part of our initiative.
Wasn't part of their bid, I mean, but it seems only fair to me if somebody's gonna be here for the day, that you give them some lunch anyway, but.
No, because we would just be pulling it out of the district reserve anyway.
The fire department, I just want to make sure. The town allows me that, I wasn't quite sure.
It's been a while.
But I think we're allowed to. I mean, it's a training put on for benefit of the town. so.
Yeah. I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to say something that. Is, I wanted to check it out.
Yeah, no, I think that's.
Okay, I mean, we're not talking
No, yeah, that's fine, yeah.
$200.
It's just me,
Yeah.
I'm planning on bringing my stuff anyway.
Okay.
Pretty
I mean,
unique diet.
if we only get one fire department that signs up, we still need to do it, or?
All right, maybe.
No, yeah, it's,
I'm
Well,
wondering what the drop dead.
how many do you think you're gonna come? 3 of you?
yeah, I'm not in town.
You're not in town. No. I'm sorry. Okay. All
And it
right,
was
well,
planned before.
that's a
the-
good share right there. I
save the
mean,
date.
it's as important for you as it is to anybody else.
Okay,
So we'll see.
so we don't need to pass anything. You clear on
I
that?
don't think
Okay.
so.
Okay, so,
Right.
okay to buy lunch and coffee and,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
Next Saturday.
Mike here. Oh. Alright. Well, when Mike walks in, we can, whatever point we'll just hear from Mike, yeah. All right, so we'll just jump into the fire contract discussion. So last month, the departments presented their base counter contract to us. Did any of you review that? And then compare it
think
to
we
what
all
we
did.
sent out? Okay. So, yeah, so basically, I guess we've individually reviewed, this is the first time we're getting together to actually talk about it since then, so. But I know I had some thoughts about it. I don't know if anyone else did, but
We all do. Well,
Yeah.
you and I both do.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So first thing I noticed, it wasn't quite what, I think it was presented as being like Brookendale's, but Brookendale's a district, so it's a little different than what we are. But we noticed that it wasn't just the same terms as theirs, like the first paragraph was different from what we've always had. But I know there's some, but aside from that, there's a couple of things I think should be in there, and I think these are things that are pretty reasonable that aren't there now. One of them would be participation for the strategic planning. And participation in the safer grant, working with the town to make the reimbursements. So I think, Chris has, I think, been helping with, he's basically helping you get reimbursed. You submit the information they require to him and he processes that. And then I know from hearing from some of you that you want townwide trainings to be set up by Chris, so I think for that to happen, there needs to be some cooperation between the departments and the coordinator, so that can happen. So if you're doing it, so that he's like, say not, if he's not going to duplicate trainings that you're putting on yourselves, then he'd have to know what you're doing so you can do different things. So I think having a term in there that would just generally say cooperate with the fire coordinator to schedule townwide trainings among the departments. And then pretty much like every other contractor that we work with, there's always, I didn't notice it in here, but there's always a mutual termination clause in there, just 30-day notice. We have that with everybody. Those are 4 things that I kind of picked out. Is there?
Do you have that sheet I left in the office? Remember, I had a sheet that you took.
Yeah, because I mean, we understand that you guys don't want things that are in there that are, you say are operational,
Yes, thank you.
which is what the cutting out of those paragraphs were, correct? Does somebody want to, I don't know who's the kind of spokesperson for the group in this one? Because I think Mark, you probably are, because if you're all gonna be saying that you're all, the contract should be similar, then I don't feel like we need 10 people to comment on. Yeah, because like, even though there are little differences between the departments, despite the. There's general terms that would apply to everybody. I mean, the 2 village departments are a little bit different. But you're still independent companies, right?
Correct.
We're still independent companies. You're not owned by the villages. Right.
The personnel within our departments fall under, what's the village fire department. That's why they have to provide.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they do not own any of the assets, they do not, dictate how we operate or.
Right.
Other than the numbers themselves.
yeah. Cause I know you have a separate contract with them.
Yep.
And then,
But they also do have to approve the town contract.
yeah,
So,
um,
and so the first paragraph that you mentioned. The reason that was changed was. If we're already tied up on a call, let's say, and there was another call that was dispatched to us. The way the previous paragraph read was that we still had to respond. So the only reason we put that other little clause in, if we're available and we're not already out on another call. Then yes, we'll answer all our calls, but we didn't want to be held to, well, you didn't answer the call, well, we physically didn't have anybody left. So, it's not, we're trying to circumvent it, we just wanted the language to say if we were on something else already. And another call came in, we may defer it to somebody else.
so they'll be deferred to whoever's covering because over mutually.
Mutually, we may call somebody else to cover the call. So we've done that when we've had a lot of trees and wires down or something like that. We will call it flooding, we will, if it's more impacted here than other areas, we will pull other departments in to help us answer.
Cover any EMS calls when you're out on a big call, something like that.
Mhm.
So that was a minor change that was made to that.
And what was the source of this language?
This came down from Steve Shaken, who's attorney that looked at it.
Okay,
And it made sense to us, that he just said, you can't be bound by contract to answer every single call if you physically can't do it. So it
all right.
is not, short staffed, I know, so it's just we're already on another call.
I guess one of our concerns is what if it's a much more important call? Would you ever, suppose you're called to get a cat out of a tree, for lack of a better example, and there was a more important call. Certainly you would stop a lesser important call to go to a bigger.
I mean, and unfortunately to that person, it's an important call because he can't come down. But yes, by all means, we are going to divert to the more serious call.
Priority.
Yeah, how do we address that in this language?
See, that's an operational thing. I think you have to trust us to make the right call. I mean. Case in point. We went mutual aid, along with Frigo went mutual aid too, to Slaterville, they had a possible barn fire. As we were getting ready to turn on Scott Road, Harvard was dispatched for a house fire.
Okay,
So we had to make the split decision, do we go to the house fire or do we go to fill tankers? So Frigo was right behind us, so I talked with their officer on the truck. And he said, all right, let's talk with Slaterville. And we were 3 minutes out from what was supposed to be a possible house fire, it was just nothing but a big pile of stuff burning, so. We diverted it and they're going back, so that you have to trust that that's an operational, the chief in the vehicle or who's in charge is gonna have to make that call.
well, couldn't we just say the same thing that you would have to trust us not to be, ridiculous about this either, and just say that the department will respond to all calls. If you're engaged in two serious calls, and we're not gonna be, the trust can work both ways here.
Well, one's bound by contract, the other one is, our part of that is bound by best judgment, not by contract. So if it says that we will respond to all calls, and then we have that in there, and we don't, you can hold us by contract. We're working off best judgment, the best we can do. And that's all we can do. If we want in the contract, we will use our best judgment to prioritize calls. That I can live with, but having it in there that we're gonna cover all calls. That's what we have mutual aid for when we have multiple serious calls.
Okay, so at a minimum, I'd like
We
to
have
clean,
not.
I'd like to clean up the language a little so it's in proper tense, so it makes a little more sense. Unable to respond because the company is currently engaged, as opposed to was previously engaged, because I don't know what that means. It sounds like you could have been previously engaged hours ago. So if we're going to talk, if you shall respond, it should be unless you are presently engaged. And a response generated.
That's just there.
Okay.
I mean, if we gotta fix the wording. It's the gist thing is we didn't want to be bound by contract, we had to answer every call dispatch to us.
I would like to just throw out, because this brings up, things that probably be good for understanding. So as the strategic plan work happens, and I know we're gonna do a training, but then that's gonna take time to then develop them. Understanding the incident command structure and how it integrates with the county incident command structure, and especially if there's a large, broad situation. May be helpful and would certainly help maybe in future years so that there's clarity there
Yeah,
around
it-
that incident command decision.
So the county looks at the individual department as the authority of jurisdiction. So they would typically ask, what would you like us to do? Who would you like us to send?
Right, I'm just saying, thinking as we do strategic planning,
No, 100%.
so that as a whole town, we're all on the same page.
like
There
where you're
could be,
going.
there could be value to that, and also if there was something very significant, like 10 tornadoes come through or zombie apocalypse or something that, we all know what's.
The one in the same.
Yeah, so that we, that we have clear understanding, I think would be good for the whole community,
Is
not
there,
just the contact.
do you have anything at the town that the town employees are required to take the NIMS and National Incident Management System? That explains it all.
So I've
And
taken,
that's how we
I've
follow.
taken all that stuff, but that's why I'm thinking maybe it'd be
Right.
good though to build that into
And
the
we all operate that.
cross-organizational strategic planning and handoff and understanding all that.
No, and I'm excited to see that you guys will be there participating as well.
I don't have a problem with it. I mean, coming from a paid buyer service, this seems pretty standard.
With the contract overall.
Well, like number one, I mean, it says they're gonna respond unless they can't because they're on another call.
Yeah, as long as, do we agree on this language and unable to respond because the company is presently engaged in a response generated? Is that a friendly amendment?
I don't have.
It's saying the same thing, so I.
Yeah, it is.
I would say we're trying to stay away from shall, because then that.
Well, that's your language.
Yeah, the shall was
Yeah,
your.
that
your
was
stuff.
This one's theirs, right?
Yeah.
Well,
this is
and we
theirs.
will respond.
Yeah.
Basically, what we're trying to say, we will respond, as long as we're capable of responding, because we're not tied up on another incident.
Yeah.
But
The company shall respond unless you've got your,
Shall meeting, the Dryden Fire Department specific. As a group, as an example, he gave an example of the structure fire that we had 2 weeks ago. We had a personal injury accident which occurred directly in the middle of the operation, probably about 5 to 6 hours in. And we quickly coordinated, the town coordinator was there, and, we
Yeah.
were able to call it. And it's being constantly.
Yeah.
And that's.
Yeah.
different than anything else.
I got that. Let me read the whole clause to make sure we're on the same page. The company shall respond to calls for service unless the company is unable to respond because the company is presently engaged in a response generated by 911 center.
I mean, like I said, we can change was to is.
Okay. How about
It just is engaged. Not,
Isn't it this one?
Yeah, from that.
we don't have to get into the
Yeah, but this is
adjectives
the
that
one.
just make it wordier.
This is not the one. Yeah, that's.
Um,
It's their language. Yeah.
The second item ends with a line that I think is unnecessary, so I'm gonna suggest that we delete it. We were talking about the town shall defend, indemnify, and hold harmless the company for any liability, causes of action and damages, loss, or expense arising out of the actions of the town, period. You had language in here relating to one of our staff members. It's not necessary. The town is the town. And if you want to single out a staff member that works for the town, that's redundant. I think it's, singling out a member of our staff is not needed.
It's a number 3. Yeah.
I don't have a problem. I mean, it is one of the.
All right, so our basic request then is to add the three items that Jason mentioned, you know, that you guys agree to participate in the strategic planning sessions.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah,
As we talk, as long as, I don't want to stop you short, but can we
Yeah.
talk?
yeah.
So we had a get together last night to discuss the strategic plan. And what we would like to propose. And we still want to do the strategic plan, don't get me wrong. But what we would like to do is kind of change the verbiage and the concept of the strategic plan to be, instead of individual departments, that we can build it as a collaborative group and make it a town strategic plan pertaining to the fire service. Just what Spring was alluding to. So I will let you read what we. But the thought was that we can divide the plan between the fire departments within the town, the town board, so we can come up with a mutual plan, how we see us moving forward. So once the plan is in place, we would, you know, live by it as we would hope the town would do the same. So where
Oh, yeah.
every year you don't have to come up and have different strategies and different ideas.
So I'll say just, and I'm not a strategic plan expert. Others here might be, but I think that sounds awesome. I just want to put out that, my gut feeling is that's a decision we make as we develop the plan. As far as that overall vision and mission, but stay open to, if everyone is in a different place with something, y'all may have different subsections on the steps you need to get there to get to that same point, because I hate this analogy, but I use it. If we're all going to Vegas, some people might take the northerly route or the southerly route. So even if we have a unified goal, the steps along the way may be a little different, depending on where different strengths and weaknesses, weakness is the wrong thing, strengths and opportunities of the different groups. So, but that's something I think that's gonna be part of the fun of developing the plan, right?
But I think we
is
need to
that
do it
process.
together with a
Yes.
mutual thing that we're all collectively buying in to do it as a unified force of how fire service should look in the town of Dryden,
5 and 10 years.
5 and 10 years down the road.
I think it's great.
You know, I think that's a great initiative. But I see it as a parallel that, since we contract individually with the departments, you guys operate as individual departments. And the reason why this idea came up was that relationship between the town and the individual departments and the need for some sort of feedback mechanism. We need to know what the goals are for the coming year when we sit down to budget. And that gives us some sort of idea of what we're contracting for. Because there's been an information gap. And we always just feel like we don't know what your goals are, what your methods for meeting those goals are, what you consider your assets, all the things that would go into a strategic plan. So I like the idea of us doing this together, and that's good. But I think since we contract individually, we need to see the individual plans as well.
But I think if we can come up with where we want to get as a
Everything.
collective group in place,
Sure.
then we can individually say how we're gonna get it apart.
I wonder if this is a semantics thing where they're talking, what they're describing is an ultimate shared vision.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is the individual roadmaps for each group to get us to that vision, which are we taking Route 90 or someone's taking Route 88? I think we're all saying the
Yeah.
same thing.
No, we're not saying this.
We're not, okay.
Yeah, 'cause
I'm just understanding.
I'm sorry.
A 5 to 10 year strategic plan, and the strategic plan you're looking at is how do we do this year and what are we gonna do? next
It's a 1 year.
Completely
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, we're in a
we're in a different spot there.
Yeah.
It depends on what you want for a strategic plan. Do you want us to give you an idea of what's happening in 5 or 10, 5 or 10 years, what we want to see, how we're gonna get there? Or do you want to just see what we plan on accomplishing today? I guess that's the answer.
You gotta do all.
The latter.
See, and our thing is, what we're trying to avoid is us having to go through what we're going through year after year, as long as we all have the same common goal of where we want to end up. And as long as we can show you, you know, we can definitely give you some type of report, I'm sure when we do our budget to, this is what we project our needs to be for the upcoming year. But I think we want to get past, instead of the day-to-day living or year-to-year living, and we just come up with a long-term goal, just like you do with some of your hamlets, you come up with a plan of what you want the place to look like, and then you kind of mold it as, you know, things grow and get there. I think that's kind of what we'd like to do here, is the same thing is, let's build the town collectively with the fire departments, build a strategic plan, and then we can all figure out how our individual departments are going to help get that plan accomplished. So,
Kind of standardizing things too.
How do you do that without having your own individual plans?
Well, we haven't taken the training yet. I think that that's gonna help next week, right? To have that consultant come in and help us
Well, we talked.
by that
Consultant
clarity.
needs to know what they're consulting on. Right now, the consulting is coming in to explain to the departments how to do
Okay.
individual plans.
but
So
it
what you're
doesn't have
talking
to
about
be-
would be a reprogramming of what we plan to
Okay.
do on the
It
23rd.
doesn't have to be individual plans. I
Well,
thought that, see, we haven't been fed a lot other than we're doing strategic planning training. So,
Well,
I've
everybody,
been really straightforward on this idea that, you know, when we do these budgets, we don't have enough information to make our judgments. And then if we had some sort of idea what your plans for the year are, we could, you know, eliminate so much of the friction. You guys would show us your plans, we'd be happy with that. We'd talk the next year how to work out, what do you need, you know, assistance with? That's what strategic planning does. And
But-
when we had this whole discussion,
no, Dad, don't get me wrong, we've had the discussion. And as we've talked about it, and I would hope that you're happy that we took the time last night to get together to talk about not only, you know, what the immediate needs of our departments are, is how can we collectively look at the next 5 and 10 years together? I think that's a huge step from where we've been in the past.
okay, but, all right,
And I understand you want to know year to year, and I'm not saying that we can't still develop our own individual strategic plans.
Yeah.
I just think the more important thing is to have a common plan
well,
moving forward. We already do strategic planning. We have our truck replacement schedules. We have turnout gear that expires every so often. So we already have, we know what we gotta do. We know what we gotta purchase, how much money it's going to be. And where we see our own individual department at the end of the year. Now, do we have it broken out in a formal? It's a little bit here, a little bit there, but there's stuff. That, you know, Rick had set in place that still affects how we are today. The past chiefs will do stuff that affects something like the fire truck that we are gonna be purchasing this year. It takes 44 months to get built. So it's not just a 1-year thing. That's a project that's gonna go over the next 4+ years to get done. So.
Yeah, I think a lot of
I
it-
get a word in now. I appreciate that effort, but I'm pleading with you to embrace this idea of strategic planning. Because all due respect, that's not even close to what strategic planning is about. And I just think it'd be so helpful to you as departments to engage in this process. What I'm hearing from you is you want to broaden the scope and bring the town in and have us all engage in a strategic plan when we have no authority, as you've told us repeatedly, over your operations. And that we can't comment on your operations because all we're allowed to do is make contracts and the contracts, you know, can't apply to operations. So the strategic plan would look at operations, might look at a whole host of things that you want to work on in the coming year. So it's a very different outcome when you engage on a department basis in strategic planning, as opposed to what does fire protection look like in the town of Dryden for the next 5 years or 10 years?
That's more of
Okay,
a,
but
that's more of a
just-
mission, right? You're guys talking about a vision, developing a vision statement and a vision plan. The strategic plan, if I'm hearing Dan right, is the individual plans you each make to help get to that.
I think you're planning objectives and strategic planning, and that is not only short term, but it's also long term. Any strategic plan has, we can go from short to mid to long term planning. That is what that is. And I think what the chief is saying is, we all share the same job, the same typical goals, and coming up with the same mindset. I don't think we're saying that we don't want to do it as an individual department, but we're all gonna be in this mindset of planning. It sounds like, Dan, it sounds like you have a specific idea in your head already, and we haven't had the training yet. We haven't had enough idea to see what they're gonna tell us. Maybe it works for them downstate, maybe it doesn't work up here. We have to take all of those things into consideration before.
Strategic planning is used by just about every nonprofit and public entity I know of. It's not a matter whether you're downstate or upstate. It's
I understand
something,
the concept, but when you start mixing planning, you get into the operation things and budget things, just like if like I think Christina was talking about, different departments may have different resources, different funding, different things like that. That's all I'm saying. As far as that, there is planning.
okay, well, I guess it's time to just be direct here. Are you willing to do the strategic planning
Well,
by a
we-
department basis or
we-
not?
We
Because
said last month that we would be willing to participate in strategic planning training as part of the contract. We don't have a contract yet. We're a quarter of the way into the year. So we need to decide
why-
on a
okay.
contract before we
So-
start. being-
okay, so we thought we had decided on a contract, as you know, at the end of December. We spent hours on this. We spent hours. We had
Everything was changed.
close to 30 items in a contract that we all agreed to.
We're gonna keep
You've come
hacking this
back.
part out.
Let me just finish. You come back and you give us a contract that's half the size. I got one must have. And that's the strategic planning that I've described over and over. And now I'm hearing from you, you don't want to do that.
No, that is not what we.
No, you don't want to do department level strategic plans.
That's not what we said.
But that's, it was even the original verbiage that you guys gave us that we had to do.
This, because I think I've just been listening to everybody. So what about department will participate in strategic planning training with the town to develop a strategic plan for the department's operations and capital planning, and two, participate with the other departments in the town in developing a strategic plan for townwide emergency response. And I think that's what you guys are saying you want to do. Like, what, so there's really two different levels of this planning. One is how to, your individual department is gonna
And how.
operate over the first.
Is it going to be? I mean, you could say it's gonna be a 100-point comprehensive plan.
No,
Dan did state that it was gonna be very simple.
it could be under 10 pages. And let me read the language that we all agreed to on this. The company agrees to participate in a strategic planning session sponsored and scheduled by the town. The company will thereafter prepare a brief strategic plan that is not necessarily limited to SWOT analysis, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and benchmarks for improvements. So we're very clear that the company will do this. There's no ambiguity in what we agreed to. So pardon my, I guess frustration with this, but we've been down this road and I feel like we just keep fighting the same fights over this stuff. Well, and I'm feeling a little frustrated because, we all got other things to do in life than argue about this
I
stuff.
have other things to do in life than to spend thousands of dollars
Yeah.
a year as a volunteer. So I
Yeah.
really don't, I'm not feeling your sadness here. We all volunteer.
I know,
So
but
we could all be doing things differently.
we're arguing about the same stuff over and over that we agreed to this already and
Nobody agreed, I mean,
We didn't agree to, it. Nothing's signed. And then things get added and things get taken away, and then we get a new contract, and all of a sudden there's language we didn't see in there before, or was taken out. So what we did is we went with what you had already done with Brookendale, providing the same service that you agreed to last month when I brought it up.
Yeah.
They all deserve the same service. So we gave you what we thought was the same service as Brookendale is providing.
No, you know those contracts, those contracts are not the same. The Brookendale contract is not this contract.
Providing the same service.
Are you guys a fire district?
There's only a few words here or there changed within it, but
Yeah.
90% plus is the same contract. The only we changed was a few words like paragraph 1, which we worked through.
Mhm.
The part that had to do with the village having to also sign the contract was added for Freeville and Dryden. The meat and bones of the contracts came directly from Brookendale's contract. So.
It's
But there's.
it's fine. We've seen the comparison. We know they're-
We were presented with by the town and what they were presented.
Okay, here's the deal. We can live with the stripped down version of the contract. And it's not quite what Brookendale did, but we can live with a lot of it. What I'm pleading with you guys is to follow the language that we agreed for. The strategic planning, which we went over word by word as a group. You were there. You were there. I'm afraid you weren't, but you missed a great meeting. We didn't add anything. So I guess I'd just like to know, I mean, we could wrap this up tonight if you guys will agree to that or language or to maintain that language.
So paragraph 17, reading this one. You know, you can just read.
It would be that language.
Yeah, you're not gonna get us to agree to all that.
So you've changed your minds
Since last month, when we were now, yeah.
since our meeting in December when we hashed out this language.
Yeah, because there's a lot more demands than reporting requirements that we are subject to that. Why isn't Brookendale? Why weren't they subject to the same reporting?
They're a fire district.
They're still providing fire service. How
They
they-
have commissioners, they have operational.
And they're also subject to open meeting laws and everything else that you guys run. So. No, it's not about coming anytime, it's just there's, we're. Like we're told in all these meetings, like if it's in the state law that it, we don't need to have it in the contract, correct? You yourself said that repeatedly.
For open meeting?
No, if there's something over that's already a requirement in state law, why does it need to be in the contract? You
Yeah,
hear that?
we have to follow a state law. Why does it need to be in the contract?
Exactly.
Follow state law.
So if it's not in a state law, if something's not in a state law, like this, there's a difference between a district, which is its own government entity, and a private company, which is what you are.
But they both have to follow the same laws.
They,
What?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
So-
So the district is basically funding their governing body over the fire.
but it's its own like government. It's not a, yeah, I mean, that's all. But that's the only thing but that's all what it is. That's why like the reporting stuff is different, but.
Money.
But we're talking about the strategic planning part, which is
So
just,
it's on paragraph 7, like I told you guys last month, if you wanted to add that back into what we provided you.
mhm.
That's entirely different language than we agreed to.
What,
So what about what Jason
You've
read?
changed, you moved the goalposts once again, and I guess I just.
What about what Jason read a little while ago? That was a merger of both.
yeah, because it seems like you guys want to do like a town-wide strategic planning.
It'd be nice to see the training. It'd be nice to see what somebody thinks their version of what we should be doing is. That would be a good starting point for us to assess that with you and offer feedback. This is honestly a different thing. What is the rush of doing this today? From that perspective. Before we have an understanding of what you're asking us to do.
The trainer is not gonna come and tell you what to do for it to be done.
It sounds,
The training,
It sounds
the
like-
training is coming, the training is coming.
then the language should indicate that.
But to give you the tools in order to build your own plan. They are not gonna come and say, you have to do A, B, C, D, and E. That's not what the training comes to be. Okay, so we have a different conception of what HRD planning, this session is all about. This session is about giving you the tool, how to do an HRD. Not to give you an HRD plan for you to do.
It really is
Is that-
a
is that
structure
clear?
to make it easier.
And I understand that, and I'm not saying that we're not willing to do a brief one on our own, but we want a bigger, broader thing that we're asking from you guys to participate. Let's
Yeah,
take this
absolutely.
one step further and let's build one at
So
the same time.
Even if you do, you still have to have individual plans in order to get to the collective goal, because everyone isn't starting from the same
It seems like we're
place.
just doing two things. We're doing
So
two,
really, we
two
want to-
plans. We're doing one town-wide.
Mhm.
And then one, each individual department would have its own.
Which would be a briefer summary how that department is going to.
Would you agree that the strategic plan would create an impression on the board as far as what kind of money we would get or what type of support that you would give us based upon how the plan is put together or what we're telling you? I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's how we'd be able to figure out, like, when you have these, you know, you like. When you talk about SCBA's or expiring in a certain amount of years, you can figure out. How much funding you need to put aside every year for it.
And
And I mean, so it's things that you probably do most of the things already. They're just not,
Our budget.
they're just not, I'm not talking about budgets. It's separate, it'll be separate for your budget. It's just. You probably have things that do a lot of what Dan's talking about already, but they're just not collected together.
So I
I
did.
think that's
two-
what's probably you're talking about.
I did two strategic plans for big organizations. One was my old fire department, one was the National Dispatcher Association, but I'm kind of comparing it and the organization did the strategic plan, but then once that was finalized, each of the departments had to create their own like little plans, how they were going to meet those goals of the strategic plan. So I kind of look at that as like this whole group is that organization, and then each fire department would be that department that would tell the larger group how they expect to meet that. So I think that might kind of solve it, if that
Well,
makes
that's
sense.
what I mean. I think
Yeah.
we have to know what the common long-term goal is.
Yeah,
And then we can build, because our plan isn't nearsighted to where it's just, I'm only worried about 2005 next year.
right.
Or 2004 this year. Yeah. Years here, 24 and 25. We need to look in the future all the time. That's how we, as firefighters, as officers, we're always looking ahead.
Same.
So.
And outside your department too,
Right.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
you understand also that the elections are annual elections.
right.
So worst case scenario, this whole group of people may not be involved next year in theory,
Mhm.
right? So
Yeah,
there has to be some sort of
together.
consideration
I think they're
for how that would affect somebody
part of
trying
the
to
same thing.
develop
I
that
think.
plan.
Right.
And unless the town is
Yeah, that's right.
invested in some sort of consistency, you're not going to have that consistency. Together this year, what comes together this year.
Yeah.
They're not in the Chiefs ranks next year, then you're gonna expect the same flow from somebody next year, and that's not gonna happen. That's not realistic. This is a volunteer system. We have to work within that system. And that language does not articulate that as it stands right now. There has to be more flexibility in this.
Yeah.
Jason,
But the question is, so let's say you have a 5-year plan.
Yeah, right. That would make
Thanks.
more sense.
Each,
Contract we
each of-
agreed to back in December.
so each of the units, okay, will have to come up with a plan.
Right.
Year by year,
Mhm.
how they're gonna get to the 5-year plan objective or goals you have set up.
So like each year is a progress
So-
report.
No matter what, you are gonna have to come up with an individual plan. Unit by unit plan. Telling this is the way we are coming up to, the 5-year goal. Is that what you, is that what
That's
you're
what we're trying to see, because
I think we
we
use that.
we think looking at paid staff to
Yeah.
at least be driver.
No, I think,
Unless we are able to know what this looks like, then we gotta figure out how we're gonna get there.
Just my
I
quick
think,
point though,
the
with
language Jason read before actually says what you guys are saying. If,
it's just shorter.
Is that what makes them out?
Just,
I'm
we need to have two plans. We need we need to have what. I mean, to me, we really need what you put in your 17, but we also need what Dan said. Because it's, I mean, you're already doing, I mean, some of the stuff that he's talking about. You already probably have part, like I said, you probably have parts of it already within your organization, because you have your, like you said, the truck replacement schedules and all that kind of thing. But there's also got, I mean, there must be some. Something to do with recruitment and something to do with training and all that, like how you plan things out, right, but they're just not compressed into one.
It's an annual
Like a road.
concept, though. It's.
Right,
it's-
but what I'm saying is like, you're probably already doing it, it's just not in a. You're not thinking of it as like your individual department's plan. But we do need a townwide one, because with all the, like, I mean, from my side of it, like all the development that's coming in. And I was, you know, it's like, and I'm just gonna say what I think about it like this, is like, just today, I was sitting at the. Ithaca, you know, economic development meeting, and everyone's talking about bringing all these factories and things in, it's like. I don't think anyone around the table knows that. The emergency services numbers are dropping. So who's gonna protect all that crap that people build? And they're not planning for that stuff. And, you know,
I have a quick question. So if the light bulb's out in chamber, so was there something that the department did in the area that changed the amount that needs to happen? Like, was there something broken specifically that wasn't working? Because I understand where we're trying to go here.
like if we're gonna not change anything, then even the contract you all gave us, we could just. Toss it and go back to the one that went like 2 years ago, even, and everybody signed that one and was happy.
So that's a good question. Was there?
Yeah, it's like we every budget year, like Dan said, we don't, you know. We don't understand what's going on inside, and we very much operate on this whole. Idea of. I'm just gonna trust you guys. And then. If we don't agree with what you're asking for. The reactions are, you know, coming from your side of things are. Not always, you're not always thrilled with it. Like, you know, and then you come back asking us to do out of budget appropriations like you did, Mike, right? Because, you know, things at budget time might not have been presented in the best way. And we're the ones charged with managing the finances for the public. Because we're contracting with companies, private companies, and it's not like it's not like the highway department where.
What if you keep number 17 the way it's written, but add a sentence that each department will create like a roadmap of how they plan to meet the jointly agreed upon strategic plan, their own strategic.
Well, I think that's what that is. I mean,
Don't call it another strategic, because the big thing is this strategic plan, call it something else. Like their individual plan to get there, to meet it.
where they're gonna,
And I think we have to.
I kind of disagree, just because if the first thing is just to have a train, like someone come in and show you how to do a strategic plan. And then it's like, okay, and then go do your own. That's all it is, Linda. It's it's saying you're gonna just go to a training showing you how to do one. And then you just go from there. Right, and that's, right, so then what's wrong with putting it in the contract too?
Because we don't know what we're doing.
So the point is to just take a training to learn how to do it.
It's part of this.
Doesn't have to be perfect. We just want you to try, engage in this process, take a chance, spend a Saturday, put together a 5-page. I mean, this is a really low bar. We're not asking for much. And I just, the idea that we actually have to argue over this, just,
And then-
I find
I think we're
ridiculous.
talking about semantics.
Yeah, because it's still gonna lead to what you guys wanna do.
You just
which
made a
is-
statement there, it's just putting in one Saturday, and you're making the general assumption that everybody in this room is available for that Saturday.
I'm not making the assumption that everyone in this room is available. We asked for one person from each department. If you can send two, great.
Wouldn't you want the people in the department that are going to be the decision makers for the year that are going to be standing in front of you, giving that
Okay.
strategic plan? I would say that that is a fair.
I know you missed a few of the discussions on this, but I was clear from the get-go that we want to train somebody from your departments to go back and conduct the strategic plans. It was not an all-hands meeting. It's like to train the trainer, come in, meet with somebody who does this professionally, learn the tools. How to do a basic, what are our assets in this agency? What are our weaknesses? What can we do better? What are our threats? In a nonprofit that doesn't do this cannot sustain itself. It's just basic nonprofit management. You guys are nonprofits. Why not just take the chance?
I think we've sustained ourselves very, very well for the last, I don't know, how many years.
Well, let me just put a final point on that. You guys sustain yourselves. We sustain you by providing the budgets that you ask for year after year. Your budgets do not track the inflation rate.
I think that the taxpayers do, and the taxpayers vote for you to support what they want, which is a fine service. that we
Absolutely.
On a regular basis and donate hundreds and hundreds of hours every single year to do that. We're not arguing the value of the training. We are just arguing the wording of it and the timing of it. Those are the two things that I think everybody here is talking about. I think a townwide general idea to do planning is an amazing thing. I think we should all do it. I think we all agree on it. Does it have to be 2-day? Can we gear towards putting something in for the individual departments, maybe the next contract year? And this year we start working on the town concept. I think that would be a much more logical pathway to all of us being on the same page.
Okay,
So how about this?
so we
Let me.
But I think,
Yep. About compromise here. So if you can be open to the way we worded it being a joint plan. Which means you guys are gonna have invested time spent in building the plan. It's not just gonna be the 23rd, it's gonna be an ongoing thing that we gotta work towards. All I'm asking is that you don't necessarily ask for our strategic plan within 90 days. Because we're gonna be developing the bigger picture. But if we have our strategic plan to you guys. Before we come looking for, hey, here's how much money I want. And here's my strategic plan and why I need to do it. Could we compromise on that? Then we get rid of the 90 days and put in the thing that we will do an individual department one too, because it has to, we have to do one. We understand that. But we gotta know what we're working towards. Because we've done a great job this year and last year building relationships. And I think you can see that we are doing more together. We're training together. The structure fire that we had on 13, yeah, you drive by it, looks like it was a pretty bad fire. But everything that happened at that was smooth, calm, collective. Everybody worked together. Everybody did what they had to do. The town of Dryden departments have come so far in just the last 14, 15 months. That sometimes I think we're being penalized from past actions. And what we're looking at, if we can build up what we have now and all agree that this is the direction we need to be going, then why don't we both commit that we will, do a townwide one? And yes, we'll do our individual ones because we got to figure out how to get there. So just give it to us. Let us take the tool that we're given on the 23rd and build, just don't require it within 90 days because we got to know this before we, but that would be done before our budget request is submitted to the town.
So I take your 17 and I take Leonardo's notes that what you're saying is that you want to do a joint strategic plan that includes individual plans for each company.
I mean, we would then need to do one for the town too. An individual one for like our side.
So,
No, that would be the first one.
so our.
Well, I'm not talking about, there's a townwide one involved in the department. So they're all, their individual ones go towards the
big-
larger one.
Yeah,
We as a board would also.
That's what they say.
Because it's not just them doing it, it's us doing it too.
yeah.
And is everybody on the board going to training as well, or can maybe we schedule some more training so that everybody, because, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I scheduled my being out of town before the 23rd date was picked.
Well, that's fine.
So,
None of my.
So
people are
remember,
in
it's-
town Except me, and I have some relatives coming in, I see once a year.
So next week's a train the trainer, right? Like Dan said, everybody doesn't have to be there, but we need representation there from each area so that we can then move forward with additional activity after that.
So with that being said, can it be recorded?
That's what I was wondering.
I mean, we'll cancel it if you guys can't participate.
Then you're missing, we're saying, do it.
schedule.
But if we want to share that to somebody else down the pike and some younger officers, instead of having to bring this back in 6 months and a year, can we do it so we can review it and just rewatch it and
I think that's a good question to have with the person we're hiring because they may have a no recording
Right.
clause. There's other things like that. They also bring in a lot of materials. How about we just get through phase one? I wouldn't jump right to recording. The other thing is I'm in a lot of recorded stuff. And unlike this meeting, people often hold back or don't share thoughts because they get nervous on camera. So let's just we gotta start somewhere.
So that number 17 isn't something that we come up with. Those are direct words from Steve Shanahan and Brad Pinson. That's how, and then we put it, that was their direct words. So. I just-
the more we read it, we all agree that
We
it
expected
made
that.
sense.
Yeah, it looks like something a lawyer would write up.
That's great.
So if it's actually gonna include both individual strategic plans and a community strategic plan is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, because I think that's what,
And then rather than
Well,
have
again-
the wishy-washy date, I know it's not really that wishy-washy, could we pick a real date, like?
September 1st. That's when we start handing in our budget request and.
yeah,
By September.
So it'll be your strategic plan for the next year.
Well, do you really? Well, yeah, because
Well, yeah,
that's
'cause
when our
it's
next
expressed in the
budget
budget.
cycle would be, and if you're gonna use this. To forecast what money it's to give us, it's gonna have to be.
Yeah.
25. I would think no matter if we did it in 90 days, it's gonna be projecting what our needs and expenses are gonna be.
Yeah. Timing wise, I mean, if we get your strategic plan for 2025 this fall, then that'll be useful to us in 2026. Because we'll say, okay, this
Why
is your
would-
plan, here's how things worked out. The whole idea is like, what are you planning to do this year? If we had that information early, it would be a lot more helpful come August and September if we had that plan and we'd say, well, how'd it work out? How do you do it meeting your goals? That would make budgeting for us a lot more informed. That was the whole purpose for this idea.
Again, I think that's.
From our perspective, from your perspective, strategic planning is just a necessary thing to do. And so it helps organizations, it helps you. This isn't about us as much as it is about you and helping you looking at your, how you're operating. But yeah, it helps us in this relationship since, we have to exercise all, as much possible care of taxpayer dollars as we possibly can. And it's just a matter of feeling like we know what we're doing when we're making these contracts. If we had this sort of feedback loop through the strategic plans, we'd be so much more informed. That's the whole,
Well, I think.
that's why this idea came up.
Is,
And we're taking it in an entirely different direction that,
but like Christina had already. As long as we all end in Las Vegas, how we get there doesn't really matter because we made a different turn. We're actually embracing your idea and going one step further with it.
I think it's gonna take,
I don't see it that way, but I
Because I
appreciate the
think-
analogy.
Don't take this wrong, but I think this is your personal goal. And.
I like it though. I'll jump in on that. I like it. I think it's gonna take 3 months to do the big strategic plan. And then that gives you guys 3 months to work on their individual plans. So I think September 1st is reasonable.
Well, I mean, and I think honestly, I think the 90 days for us in mindset is now we're given 90 days to give a strategic plan on something we haven't been trained on yet, know how to do.
I think it's
So
gonna
is that, is 90 days enough for us to do? We don't even know. And I think that's also what sticks in there, is that we have no idea what we're doing and you're giving us 90 days to do it.
And we don't.
After next week.
I think the plan that we are coming to was a good plan. Okay. In my opinion, I agree with this thing. I think if you go to a collective process, it's a good thing for us, and it's a good thing for you, you know, it's a good thing. We also need to know an individual plan from each department, how you're gonna get into, you know, the bigger plan, the 5-year plan, whatever, many years.
And I honestly, I think that you know, coming from you, it sounds like there's a lot of concern from us when you're saying that it's gonna help us, but that to me, I get defensive on because it sounds like it's our problem.
No.
And look, that's what it sounds like.
So-
I'm just saying that it sounds like there's an implication that we're doing something wrong.
No, so what it is, when you're doing a SWOT, you know, and you're looking at the risk part, right? Think of it this way, and I don't know, so I'm gonna pick up random things, but let's say we have a combined strategic plan, but you know, one company's their bigger risk that they recognize, that they choose, is that they have people that are starting to age out, right? And another company might say, well, we're good with that, but we're really struggling with having the right equipment, right? That's so that you can identify where those risks are. And then also as we move forward and say, oh, we're gonna add all this housing in this area, that also helps us know, okay, we need to be working with you guys. Maybe we need to be putting more, you know, where do we start working as a collectively to start addressing where those risks are, right? So that's why you need different
I
ones.
understand. My
It's not picking on someone saying you're not doing it well. It's how do we help? How do you have the tools to say what you need? How do we have the tools to help identify and also have the big picture in mind? Because I'm not in all the zoning meetings knowing something huge is going up. I'm reading the notes later, but having all of us informed where there's pros and cons and where some people might be taking a really long route to get to Vegas. It's really bad. You know, it is informative as we all move forward, right? So it's not intended to put you on the defensive.
What I was just, the point I was trying to make was, it sounds like if there are concerns from your side of the table, that maybe that's something that if there's a concern with the volunteer service, that's something that you could be working on your end ahead of time to say, all right, we have identified 10 specific things that we are targeting this year. And we would like you to focus on these concerns that we may have, whether it's funding, whether it's recruiting, which is the latest thing this last year, training, things like that. And some of it, you might be surprised to find out that we're already doing it. And we very easily can share with you that information so that you are informed and you can make those informed decisions ahead of time. That's the problem that I have also is, it sounds like there's a lot of that lost in this assumption that we don't know what we're doing, but we haven't been doing some of those things. You know,
It's really hard for any, at least for me, that there's so much going on and different ways people communicate. A beautiful thing about a plan like this is that you now have a tool where the information gets uploaded on a periodic basis, you know, so that you get, I'm projecting, but so you often get a dashboard so that you don't have to struggle to tell the story. It helps tell the story.
Adopt a fire department and put that fire department and have their,
idea.
right? Feel really good on it again.
Yep.
And then that person can act as a liaison to the board itself. It's just.
Not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea.
Good idea.
Yes, no, Tom.
We hired a fire coordinator for that purpose, to tell you the truth.
No. There are discussions.
We invested for that very reason, to improve communication, somebody who's been a firefighter, who knows the
Firefighter,
business.
35 years, you know, firefighter, development, firefighter.
That's,
All right.
but yeah, but we hired somebody to help us better communicate. That's been the goal. And so it's,
I don't want to go on.
All we're asking you is maybe one-on-one, if you take out middleman.
All right, well, that's something that's like outside
That's-
contract anyway, so again, I think we're all kind of talking about,
I think we're closer than we think we are.
that's what I think, it's just that you wanna, so. For us, the individual department plans help at budget time, but you're talking about also just when you're getting everyone together to figure out what the actual needs are, how you're gonna cover the whole town as a group, well, which is what we're concerned about, and that can list off the things. that I'm already, I mean, it's just based on development and stuff like that, like what we need to cover and who needs to know how to do what. But that's not contracts, so it's just, that was what would come out in this plan, it's like, this is where the town's going. How are we gonna maintain the level of service we got based on?
We have these conversations.
And that's.
Yeah, which I think what you're talking about.
This would be a great thing, and you guys would know more of what we're doing on a regular basis.
Yeah, and then, but this thing on the 23rd would just help us all figure out how to get there.
Right.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It looks like we're gonna have to take a hit and cancel it, because I don't see how we do this thing if no one's there.
Wow, I'll be there.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I would be the only.
You're gone.
I
You're
think
gone.
you all Christian up there
It's-
said that you were the only one who responded, he got, from you, from our station.
No, no, no.
Saturday.
But,
It's just it's gonna be very limited because, I mean, there's a save the date and then there's a confirmed date. When you give us a week and a half to confirm the date and everybody's already got plans, including the supervisor, it's kind of short notice.
but I think the.
Save the date, why not?
Into,
Okay, we're-
Sorry.
we all wanna take it, we all wanna take it, we all agree that we wanna take it.
So, but as far as the contract goes, I think what Leo and Spring said covers what you guys did, but also what we want.
I think we need a.
Because what you
where we're
mentioned-
Going, and an individual plan on how we're gonna.
But
Right.
if the board members that did attend the training had can take time to sit down with somebody that maybe wasn't there. Hey, this is what we learned and through the tools. So I don't think we need to cancel it.
Yeah.
We can go and we will work with what we have. That's what we do in the fire service. If something isn't there, we overcome it and we make do and we will help each other.
Okay, I thought you said no one from your department could attend.
No, he didn't say.
Nobody from my department can attend except me, and I have family I see once a year.
So, Again, so
So
no one,
a high day from my family that I see
No.
to attend this.
okay, I misunderstood. I thought you said you couldn't attend.
And it's not that expensive, I don't know what expenses, there's no reason why we can't. Schedule the second day.
So how do we get the language so everybody's in a good place?
Yeah.
How do we stop going in circles?
Well, I think.
Not
if
to
we
get
get
past
rid of
Neil,
the
but,
90 days and go to,
That's the theory on a day.
let's pick a date.
If September first is too late, then
No, but it's just, it shouldn't, you would wanna have it, some version of it, you wanna have your first. You wanna have it done for budget time anyway, because when you present your budget, you're gonna say this,
completed.
Yeah.
Right.
because we do
But I
that,
don't understand why if we give it to you September 1st, it's not gonna do you guys any good until the 2026. But that's neither here nor there, but I don't know why it wouldn't be effective for 2025.
I think what Dan was trying to
Because-
think of, their goals for he wanna see if there's goals for this year. So maybe you already have some, I don't know.
There's nothing to
We
compare.
just gotta put them in the format that you guys want the plan in. We
They're
already
still
do
doing
that.
stuff.
Yeah,
We just gotta compile it all together in the format and what
yeah, I think,
the
that-
trainers are doing, so it's not a big deal. But if you want to hear now, this is what we're forecasting for this year, but I would rather give you one at budget time. Not
Or the
how we
following.
did this year is, where do we see ourselves going next year?
yeah, I think, yeah, I think we're just kind of like doing this right now, so.
Yeah.
So you'll be, I mean, because it come budget time, you're gonna say, this is what we want to do next year, and by the way, this is what we did this year, like this.
Because if we have
I
a
think we can get it
strategic
all.
plan by September first, here's our strategic plan for next year. Here's what we're gonna budget for next year. Here's what the contracts. So I don't know why that would wait till Wednesday.
Well, but,
But the measurement, the analysis takes the following year to happen. And then when we go into the next budget cycle, we'll say, okay, here's the plan that they presented at the beginning of last year. Here's where they got or last year's budget looked like this, the next year budget should look like this. It's a continuum of information that's needed. That's why, you know, it'd be great that if you guys could, if the departments could, you know, engage in the process 90 days after this training. So, you know, we'd have something to look at in September. I said, okay, so you guys settled on these goals for the remainder of 2024. How'd it go? That would be useful information. That would be something that we could base some decision making on. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Okay.
Other than what you're asking.
Okay, so the 90-day number was not my number. The 99-day number was the number we all agreed on.
Then let's agree to take the 90 days out of there and do it. I mean,
What number should it be?
Yeah. So what you and Spring can,
September first,
I think works.
when?
September first.
I mean, that was already suggested.
Yeah,
So we'll get this just as we're starting to prepare our next budgets and we won't.
We gotta have a starting place.
Yes, and it's more than we
Right?
get now.
Have to have a starting
Well,
place.
so that's,
Yeah.
that's when you have to have it. by. It doesn't mean that we may not have it done in July. You get it to them, but
If we're coordinating with somebody from your side, then
yeah.
we're all on the same page. I think you.
at some point, we gotta learn to trust each other. And that's all we're asking for is let's do this together.
Without taking the training, I mean, without taking the training, I don't know, but I'm assuming it's gonna be something kind of like a contract, you know? End of June, July, we're gonna be like, is this what you're looking for? You know, is this? Where we're at, what do you think? Do you need something else? Is this time to finalize everything up and have a finish by September first?
And I think it'll be,
You know exactly September first what you're looking at.
It'll-
Start building your next-
it'll be a quality product too, instead of just rushing and giving us something
I
within
think it
90
would
days.
be more. I say complex, there'd be more
Comprehensive.
comprehensive stuff in there versus.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and my version of brief may be different than everybody sitting in front of me. You know, so. Again, we will all know more after the 23rd. But all I'm saying is, if we're gonna put it in the contract. Then we can either say, we all agree we're gonna do it. Or we try to put some language in it. All we're saying is, we don't mind doing it. But we're looking in the future, we want you guys to be a part of how you see. The fire departments and the fire service in the town of Dryden.
Right.
You guys know more of what's going on in the development. Well, before we
Yeah.
do.
Sure.
So we need your input and then that will help us build, you know, and
The bigger comprehensive plan. We're gonna need that from you because we don't know what's coming.
We do a lot of comprehensive planning, as you may know. I mean, we just completed a town comprehensive plan. We wouldn't try to do this work without a plan. And so we're all about planning. I'm not sure how we do planning as a town contracting with 5 departments. Engaging in a strategic planning process. I'm
Well, I
not
think-
sure if that's a formula that's gonna set us up for success, because strategic planning is generally done by an entity. Concerning, you know,
Town's joint fire district is the entity. Let
Yeah.
them make.
yeah, but there's
It's an
no,
entity.
there's no entity that controls the internal organs of the entity, where we contract with independent.
Well, I mean, we're.
Yeah, we can come up with a set of goals, I guess. I think that would be useful.
It would be nice if we're all on the same. page.
Shared vision.
That's
Yeah,
what
we're,
I'm
again,
I'm gonna get to be all on the same.
Yeah.
page.
Shared vision with individual strategic plans to get there.
You need to
That's really what
understand
we're talking.
We're doing, where we're going, and we need to understand where the town is going. With
Yeah.
where all the.
Yep.
And understanding that.
Right.
And.
Exactly what Leo said.
We need to work together.
Yeah.
That's the comprehensive.
They're living.
So I think what we need to do is just what the way again, like what Leo and Spring came up with. Cause that covers what you all want and then and it covers what everybody wants.
Well,
I think-
the thing is,
What? With it, and. No, go ahead, you,
Well, we spent all of the chiefs came to made a presentation a couple weeks ago. Which they had some time to hopefully get the reviewed and all of the did represent. Their composition, as several people said, the language came from the lawyer. I don't think it's insignificant when you're talking about a 30-day termination clause, or moving in education, that's lawyers. I don't know when you say 30-day termination, so you're in the weeds on strategic planning. There are other things too that can be some life. You say there's a 30-day cancellation period, and what are you gonna do with a check? If we're like between checks, you're canceling it, you get a check, don't get a check, this is a contractual decision, but what are we doing already? And I would suggest that new to where if new language gets in there, especially on the ones that they're also reading about. I'm not hearing these kinds of complaints. And I would think that's-
So we do, after all this discussion. What you were saying.
So
I would really
what we
consider-
should do is figure out the verbiage, what we're gonna do in 17, so we can say we're done.
Yeah, we're done with that one and
I
then,
think we have a common plan.
Yep.
So that's my,
so,
we do this collaborative planning. The plan, and then each of the units, we do their own, and how they're gonna get there.
so what did you guys add to 17? Because you kept what they wrote, but then I thought you added a couple of.
It's exactly what I'm saying,
No, but Spring, I saw you writing like.
Well, it's his writing, but it was simply to participate and create a joint strategic plan. And individual company strategic plans that include, but is not limited to an analysis of the joint strengths, weaknesses, blah, 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 blah. So I just added a few words in the middle of 1, 2, 3, 4, the fifth line down. But this one doesn't have a due date, so we would need to add a due date into this. There's version 17. This is what he handed us.
Right. Yeah.
This is what you physically handed us.
Did you know you spelled free bell wrong?
It was simply to say,
You spelled free bell.
Yeah.
here,
Okay.
add in. Individual company plans.
Why don't we just add 26 by September 1st? Then we add this, they're two different sections. Keep them distinct.
I no emotion attachment. Because they all say the same thing. It's.
Mhm.
All these
I just-
different ways say the same thing, so I don't think it.
I think they're two different things. This process is gonna start immediately. That's how. And they need to get that done by September 1st. This process, it's hard to say when how this will go, because I'm having a hard time figuring out how this works. So I'm gonna have to, talk to some others, some experts to see how it needs to be like a town that doesn't have control of the assets.
This is not saying the town's doing it, this is saying they're gonna work collaboratively to develop a shared vision.
They're gonna work with us.
The plan to get there.
It's the town fire coordinator.
We don't have everyone understand.
I understand, but that's what you're saying.
This
the
is-
text they can.
These are words that only,
His concern was that it.
Yeah.
Everyone
identifies
understands.
Specific content.
Collaborative
One
is
is it
they're
already-
Right.
about a vision.
they manage, they hire individual.
Right, because we'll have to have our own
This is
too.
a shared vision.
So
We're
that's.
in agreement.
I mean.
Well, they don't, that's a whole nother discussion.
So.
The issue of timing.
I
is
think
a
it's
question of
not-
where we can leave with the
I would
25.
guess.
We-
My preference
Yes,
would be a planning session.
on the
I think we
26th.
do
We're gonna have more than
the
we have on the
plan.
24th.
Because he's already included in it. And maybe we should get.
But we need, what we're doing is we're identifying the services we need. So like, we're gonna say we need to have departments, the training has to be on protecting solar,
Who's
protecting, like how to deal with the EV stations. All the stuff that we do, how do you address emergency?
And I like,
trends?
I,
Different bridge things, open like space, what, those are because we're identifying the different services and then they can figure, that'll help them figure out, okay, we need the world, we're getting us over here, they have more
about.
brush fires, so they need to have more brush equipment than maybe Dryden. Or maybe the Dryden, or maybe Dryden's brush equipment needs to be transferred that now, or something, stuff, that's what we're talking, and that's how, I think that's what they're talking about. I mean, when you guys are talking about this townwide plan, you're saying like, I think. We're kind of sidebarring, but
No, that's fine.
to me, it sounds like you're looking for the town to tell you what we think the town needs. So each department, because every area is a little bit different.
Focus on the.
Oh, so you guys like, yeah, because like Neptune's got more urban. So, same with Freeville, but Etna's, you got all the open space with the brush fires and things. So you have different needs for equipment maybe than Neptune does.
I mean.
Then that's, and then you know what we're looking, what we need.
We're back in the strategic plan.
Well, just let's say, because that's what we're, yeah, we're just gonna get through.
Ultimately, the strategic planning, we have, if we're doing it as town departments, we're going to do it. We're going to make decisions together based on the different areas. And we're all going to be working together between Neptune, Greenville, Etna, and Barnes to determine, we have to determine the different areas of what.
Right.
So it's gonna be broken, it will, well, first of all, we all have to walk before we can run. None of us know what the hell we're doing when it comes to strategic planning because that's not his profession, original profession. You know, so, but if we start it with a town-wide one, we can break it up into, within the town-wide one, we can break up the needs to the different
Right,
areas.
that's, we're all talking about.
So we're all talking about the same thing, it's just the timeline, and this timeline, you can put September 30th, but.
Well, they-
Listen, where we all might not, could be a moving target, because it could, once we start getting the details together, it could take a whole lot longer to actually develop. You know.
Yeah, but the fun- you-
And I don't understand the analysis, because you're talking about goals. And goals of one thing, and a strategic plan is always a moving target.
Yeah.
Because what you start here in 5 years, in 10 years, your plan is gonna change.
Yep.
In a year, your plan can change.
Right, but you gotta start somewhere, so we're, so.
Things that we can discuss.
Yeah.
Was a townwide training facility.
Yeah,
That's not an individual.
Right.
Strategic
Right.
plan, that's
Yeah.
town strategic plan.
right, so that's the sort of thing we would come to, yeah.
So why don't we just say?
And I have an insurance contract. that-
City maybe do a strategic
Got an easy plan.
the entire time.
We have a 17A and a 17B. And instead of trying to make one sentence that fits both, we have a 17A of exactly what you guys are saying. And then a 17B, which says that then you'll do that, we'll do the individual ones with the SWOT analysis.
By September
on
1st.
September 1st. And that way it
That-
doesn't get
That
late.
actually might not be even realistic. Because we could actually break it down within the
So-
town.
It doesn't.
It might not be realistic
Perfect.
for.
But I think they're looking for something, if I,
It doesn't have to be perfect.
is that you're looking for something like Freeville needs a new park. Is that, would be in our strategic plan to complete at some point, goal? I mean, is that what you're looking for individually?
A strategic, this would be, that could be an opportunity. If you do a SWOT analysis, your strengths would be like strong community support, strong relationship with the Dryden Town Board. Great reputation here. Opportunities, improve facilities. That would be an O, the opportunity to make our own facilities more functional. Or it could be a weakness. A weakness would be a parking lot or whatever area of your facility is damaged, that could be seen as a weakness. It's just a matter of identifying these things and then analyzing, doing a little narrative like what you're gonna do in the coming year to address things that brought up in the SWOT analysis. I promise you, this is not as complicated as we're making it sound.
I don't think it's,
It doesn't sound that it's complicated, it just sounds like when we do the individual ones, like if we don't meet something on that plan, you're going to use it against us.
No.
No, this is supposed to be a tool for help.
Say no.
Yeah, I guess,
See, you can say no, because that is something that you can say.
oh, no.
against us.
No,
saying
it's a way of, I would call that a way of creating a feedback loop. So we know what you guys are trying to do in the coming year. Because we're not we're not in your operations. We're clearly not. But we do seem to ask each year, well, what did you do in the past year? And what were your, what are your numbers looking like? And what sort of goals did you guys set for yourselves? This is how this all came up.
It's a nice thing to be able
You know.
to, for a tool to be like you may rank your, I hate using the word, I don't, the weakness is the terms, but let's say you said the parking lot is our number one weakness and our second one is, I don't know, we don't have enough bees or something in the backyard. So we don't have enough money. And then we know this, and then we learn something about someone's gonna build something or something. And now it's like, hey, guys, you may want to rearrange your priorities of which one you're gonna move up next year. It becomes a way to provide that kind of feedback loop in an easy, accessible
In
way.
our budget planning, we've actually provided some of this information.
Right,
yeah.
Before, like even before there was a town coordinator, we're just like in 5 years.
Yep.
Or in this year, this is the first time that like we were on it for Aetna. In the time that I've been there, which is 8, almost 9 years now, that we unexpectedly were just like, oh, we have to replace tools that are gonna cost a little bit more than we were expecting.
I think you guys are gonna see it helps you communicate across each other, or where one person might say this is a strength of ours and someone else puts it in their weakness quad. All of a sudden you're like, oh, well, maybe we should do something here to help balance it out.
You know.
It's really a tool.
And you pointed out, like, you pointed out, like, stuff with some of our finances and some of our stuff, I mean, not to make it about us, but we have moved like everything, and we are now getting almost 5% interest rate on all of our CDs, and we are seeing a significant difference of stuff. And we appreciate the feedback that.
So a SWAT plan would allow you to highlight that, you say, look what this goal we set, we
Right.
exceeded
Now, we didn't go
expectations.
into we didn't go into the New York class. We still might investigate that, but we did go to another local bank and we did make the change, and we are getting significant interest and our money is working for us. So that is, and on top of that, it's Groton Bank, if anybody wants to know. They have also, because of the type of corporation that we are, they are actually insuring us over the there's separate insurance for free, just have to fill out paperwork that will insure you over the FDIC $250,000.
The idea is when we start our conversation about budgets, at the end of the year, right? That we have the same information base. We are acting on the same information base. Okay, with the same level of information. So you are telling us, these are the things that we said we are going to do. We couldn't do this, whatever, you give us enough information to make the right decisions about budgeting. And we are not starting to have a conversation about, well, is this, expenditure is good or not good, and so forth. Rather, we act on the information that you are providing us. That's basically what it is. And so the overall will give us a sense of where we are going in the next 5 years. The individuals will give us a sense of where you are at this year and next year and the year after.
Okay, and I think the more we can have communication back and forth, if it's us coming monthly, talking to you guys, it's gonna help that. And I told you before, I will come every month, I'll split my numbers, and I will stand before you if you have any questions, feel free. And, I definitely think we need to improve the communication between both sides.
And offline.
I'm looking at this as a first start.
So just see if we can put a bow on this then. Can we agree to this 17A and 17B
Yes.
wording?
Can you read what your sentence said, how you wrote it?
Okay,
You
so
got a summary of it, I just want to hear it.
So 17A would be the company agrees to participate in a strategic planning session sponsored and scheduled by the town. The company will thereafter prepare a brief strategic plan that includes, but it's not necessarily limited to strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis and benchmarks for improvements. Such strategic plan will be provided to the fire coordinator and the confidential secretary of the town supervisor by September 1st. And then 17B would be the company agrees to participate in a joint strategic planning session with the town fire coordinator and the other fire districts providing fire protection to the town of Dryden, and to participate in creating a joint strategic plan that includes but is not limited to an analysis of joint strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, risk assessment, benchmarks, 5 and 10-year strategies.
We don't need the last sentence, do we?
I'm sorry, I gotta amend this language because whoever wrote this, your lawyer did not put threats, and typically when you do strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We can add risk assessment and benchmarks of 5 and 10-year planning, but I would ask that we add threats to that sentence as a friendly amendment.
Yeah, that's just standard SWAT language. So it's basically what you gave us.
And joint plan would be circulated to all parties for comment, period.
So when we provide the strategic plan, it goes to the town fire coordinator? Is that,
I think it goes to the coordinator and Jason's secretary.
so how does that information get briefed for context? Is there a specific contractual timeline when we get to tell you personally, not through a third party in context? Because it's impossible for one person to apply the context that you need to dissect the information. And I think that needs to be clear in that language. So like giving it to somebody else, and then you're getting the information that's based on there, you're gonna have questions immediately based on those. How does that context get driven? Are you, is there some sort of feedback period? Are there going to be opportunities to change the strategic plan based on individual questions that you may have?
They're living documents.
We could ask that departments may present.
I think there should be a representative from your side of the table that is part of that initial contact. That would be one thing that I would recommend added to that. Provided to the town fire coordinator, a member of the board, and
Could we just meet with somebody on a given date and we'll present ours to the fire coordinator and a representative from the board? We present it and go over it, and if there's questions, we can do questions and answers.
So some of the departments will present their plans to the board.
Yeah,
Yeah, can you do the entire town board? Because there were a lot of discussions. I had no clue.
yes.
Okay.
we can have some. Yeah. But I mean,
So,
We'll bring balloons. and-
so we'll schedule,
Balloons.
departments shall present their strategic plans directly to the town board.
Sure.
At a setting like this, I mean, that would be great in September, get it to us by September 1st so we can look at it, and then you come to our
and then we'll come
meetings.
present it, and you guys.
Yeah, we have 2
questions,
meetings every
that's-
month. We'll
yeah,
get
that's
you on the
very-
calendar, maybe not all in one night. And yeah, that's a great idea.
See, we do have a great.
I bet we'll figure that
relationship.
out between now and then when we go through the training.
I don't think it'll take that long. We're not gonna be back and forth and on these things.
Figure that out in the
Is
training.
that part in the email, bro?
Absolutely.
Does that mean we've got a bow on this and we can like all agree that it's a great thing to participate in the safer grants? Move on.
I think we're already committed to working on the safer grants.
You're okay with it?
Yeah.
That's-
I
Or
don't,
we can put it in the language of the contract.
I don't think it needs to be in the contract if we're committed to working on it.
I mean, why would we
Does it
not?
help to put it in there?
So is it okay if I make this language definitive, that departments shall present their strategic plans to the town board in September? Is that okay?
Yes,
No later. than-
we'll have the form to you by the first.
So we gotta go into
We will
budgeting.
meet with you. Yeah,
Okay,
to answer it when you guys say, hey, come tonight and we'll present it and we'll answer questions. Department by department.
great. No, that's really, I think this will be
That was fun.
really,
We got through it.
was there other language that we needed?
Well, I mean, the only
have a
thing I,
question about the indemnification.
well, that's what's in there came from you guys.
All right, it's,
I don't know why you're-
it's a mutual indemnification. Oh, you're keeping it? That's right.
Yeah, we didn't, that's the language your lawyer put in there. I mean, if you got a question about it.
Oh, no, I
So,
thought that.
Right.
so let me ask,
There's someone else. She's,
Oh, I'm Rebecca from Freeville.
Oh, hi.
I just wanted to add for the safer grant piece, it would be helpful because I'm managing the safer grant.
I'd be willing to put together a report before, like, mid-year. We just got our first deposit from the grant, so putting together a report for all the departments. The board would have to support. While we're doing.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
So are we putting that language in or not, safer grant language?
I mean, the only thing I thought about for safer was just this, if that would work for everybody.
Can you guys see that? I can't see.
I just cooked, I mean, it's really short. Now just go in, I mean,
I mean, what's the funding?
And what?
like 17 and one of them, then for the non-resident ones, like 18.
Which for the trainings,
Done.
we'll cooperate with the town fire coordinator on trainings or we'll collaborate.
Okay. Um,
We'd also like to just affirm the coordination of trainings, because
You can get a copy of our trainings. He should have a copy of the trainings for the year that
it's,
outlines.
so for your department, but would it be, we were thinking it might be helpful to have some sort of language in the contracts that said the departments will coordinate or cooperate with the town fire coordinator on trainings.
What trainings? We haven't had any trainings that he's provided, so
We want to make sure it
are
happens,
you
so
guys paying for the trainings if he's putting them out?
some of them, I would imagine,
yeah,
I
yes.
guess what,
Yeah.
I'd like to know what we're getting ourselves into. I mean, if there's a plan in place, then do you have training that you're planning on bringing to us? Anything you want.
Careful.
I'll make the check.
I'm not talking about paying anybody. I'm talking about doing what we talked about for a year now, is everybody from the town coming to one place to do like hydrant operations.
So we're doing that. So that's what we.
That's my point. We have a calendar out. We're already.
What are you?
Yeah, we're doing town and Dryden training, we're doing Dryden training, and.
What I'm saying,
We just don't feel like we're on the same page, and so we thought some language saying that we would,
Discussion that we have.
if we put it,
Italian.
if we put it in the contract saying that we'll all work together on trainings, would that be a separate?
Departments are all working together on trainings and we meant that every single.
So you don't want it in the contract?
I don't, feel that's, but I mean, honestly, our members were in training all day Saturday. They got up and went
Be in it.
for to Sunday to Varna for state training.
And a fire.
And yeah, we had the fire in Portugal. So, but our members right now are eating and breathing training. Varna has been doing phenomenal job about bringing trainings consistently. We've got a boatload of trainings that are going on this year, so we've already done that amongst ourselves.
It'll be in the strategic plan too.
Is there anything we can do or our coordinator can do to help make sure everyone knows about it and that any gaps that you might need in training, he can go after and try and locate? That's kind of where we're
I
going.
mean, I think what would be best coming from him would be specialized training or guest speakers of somebody that's, you know, maybe like this strategic planning people, is professionals that can come in and give a presentation about something.
Policy templates that we come up with and we identify that we either quite frankly don't have the time to do. Or the coordinated effort that we as a town can review, and there are some townwide things that we don't currently have that would be nice to kind of lock down from policy.
Like the procurement policies and like sexual harassment and all that stuff.
There's grants, there's all sorts of
Yeah.
different things to standardize, that would be good examples. Standardized sexual harassment policy that all 5 departments or 5, whatever departments share, that we can all agree.
Yeah. Aetna has all of that already in place.
But I'm saying.
You guys just filled in the opportunity section of the SWOT analysis for.
Well, our coordinator, how does the,
CFR, like, proceed with the CFR, we need medical personnel, we'll proceed with that.
There's a CSR class that we're trying to get in place and what is it?
It costs
$6,000.
There's one in Neptune, isn't there?
That's what.
Dynamics.
We're just trying to figure out how to fund it.
I think, yeah.
well, those are the things that
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
town Dryden fire coordinator could help us with, and how we formally make those requests, whether it's through the board and the board. He's a relative and then the board punches that out, as I think sometimes it's hard to. If we're requesting, if there's 5 departments pushing on one person, we need this, that's not reasonable.
This mentioned last year, about doing CFR5. And in the numbers, the number of costs, the way I read the email is the town thinks.
So we would like to do
Okay.
downline bailout training.
Right, and then Chris, you'd have,
Then we would
coordinator
request
would-
to whoever is supervisor for the coordinator, and then you guys talk it out, or we can CC them. I don't know how we do it, but if we have 5 people trying to make requests, and it's disjointed and there's no flow.
Okay, so it was our impression from speaking with Chris that coordination was needed on trainings, that he needs to know what your departments are doing and to look at.
We're already doing it, and we're.
That's the impression I got from speaking with Chris earlier.
So I'm telling you what's happening and how that relationship is.
So you, yeah, everybody knows what everyone's doing on trainings. There's no
Yes.
gaps.
Yes.
And our members are welcome to go to anybody else's
Else's training.
training at any given
Yeah.
time.
okay, but if he's gonna schedule something, like he's mentioned, like specialized stuff. Wouldn't he just need to know the ones you already scheduled, so he doesn't overlap it?
If there's good communications.
Right, that's what I'm
I
talking
mean, your
about.
parts, hence the like. There's gotta be a loop from your office to make sure that that is a coordinated effort and there's consistency with the communication.
I'm sensing there's no need to add this to the contract.
Now,
No,
Okay,
conversation path.
I think we might be done.
So then I'll just be the 17A, be the thing about safer, and then, I don't know, I mean, just don't wanna deal with, 30-day thing, I mean, that's something we have like with, say, our TCO, but if you don't think we need it.
oh, the 30
I'm
days.
saying, like, if you guys said, screw the town, we're done.
That's just standards.
Well, you can't
It's a
just.
legal process anyway, yeah, so.
You can't just say, once this contract is signed, you can't just say, screw the town, we're done. It doesn't work.
Right, I mean, that-
Legally, it doesn't work that way, so.
Well, if there's like, in like, say for like our DC, like the CO one. There's in a lot of contracts, there's mutual like termination. If you do, you have to give notice and whatever, but we don't, if you don't think we need it. You guys don't think we need it, then-
That's.
yeah, so forget, we won't even bother with it though.
Okay. So I got the bigger question, now that we've sealed it. How do we go about getting you guys to bring the abstracts released, if we can get this verbiage changed like ASAP?
Mhm.
So I can get it to the village, Mike's gotta get it to the village.
Oh,
There's all time constraints, so if there's any way you guys can agree that if this contract can be signed by you guys next week,
yeah,
that the money can be released.
yeah, we can do that once we
So
get.
we should have every money, because we're losing.
Yeah,
you know,
We'll sign these immediately as soon as we get them worded.
yeah, I
You know,
just
I think
need,
we've all agreed on the words. You're gonna have Cassie send them out tomorrow.
well, I need did you type out the A and B or did somebody? just
He
give
has-
it to me?
It's right
He
here. I
hasn't.
mean, it's,
Yeah,
We-
I-
You can sign us,
leave that in.
so this is 17A.
Yeah.
Can we go ahead and vote on that now?
no, but.
But
they sign us, what they want,
17A.
just add it.
have to authorize changes that Sunday.
Actually, this is.
But that we can do, we
Right.
can do right the,
But they don't.
We vote on the language tonight, right? Should we vote on the language tonight so that once it goes through the rest, it's done?
okay.
That way they don't have to.
If you email, if someone could type up an email.
To do what?
With a change of 17 and
17A and B and then that,
18.
that
If you
18.
get that to us,
Yeah, then I can
we
have,
can change it, then we will send you the PDFs
okay,
back with the corrected changes.
okay, I can just type that up. Yeah, what I'll do is I'll take,
I can have it done tomorrow.
We're sticking with one payment.
um,
We're all two payments.
Can we talk about two?
yeah,
They were all two.
No, not this one. No, this is one too.
well, I mean,
The ones they sent us from too.
Yeah, I'm authorized to sign them without bringing it up to Gav.
Payment outside the abstract if you don't wait.
Yeah, we could do that. We can. So for the, you guys want to do? At this point. Movie, he's not waiting for anything for a second payment at this point. So we might as well just do the long, I suppose.
We're gonna agree to the one payment. That was a change.
Yeah.
I hate to have to bill you for a call that we've done or something or charge interest.
What? Friends.
So
No, we got this good.
I'll just send this to you tonight. I'll send it to.
Yeah, if you can send that to me, I can forward it to everybody and then we'll make the changes tomorrow and we'll get it back to
Yeah, make sure you send it to Cassie whenever you.
you. Okay,
Yeah, if you want to send it to us, but make sure she's.
Yep.
copied on it.
And then we can vote on it next Thursday. We don't-
Yeah, and then if we just, so I just resolved it tonight, so we can, make, the payments outside the abstract for each of, once the contracts are signed.
yep. Yeah, obviously.
I'll second that.
Outside the abstract, for the amounts that are, that are on the contract. It'll drive me Wednesday.
I'm gonna see if I can get them to look at it as it's typed up and if they agree to it.
And thank you for your time and patience.
Likewise.
Wait,
you
Greatly
on the-
appreciate it.
See you on the
Really is.
23rd, mostly.
Yeah, how many hours is the training?
It's 3.
Probably 3.
3 hours?
I guess.
Oh, yeah.
9 to 5.
Well, did they tell you how long?
They said they'll be here once.
Is this, can we like, we have a new business in town, can we park this trailer,
Yeah,
make us dinner?
that'd be nice.
Pretty cool. Yes. We
It's
have
good
that?
stuff.
We've got a food truck?
Well, he's the one that, diner.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
because they're
Serving,
gonna be, holy
so.
smokes open,
And then
Holy smoke.
in the old diner.
You should try
Yeah,
it.
Scooters is. doing a great job.
Yeah. He was at
Yeah, they have the truck there.
That's right.
Yeah, but you didn't let us drive any of the trucks.
It's a food trap.
Trailer, not a truck.
Volunteer at his department.
But
you
you
got it
have
all
the
the time.
operation.
It would never, I could pass the physical.
Sure you
I
can.
finally got it for you.
Yeah.
All right.
You
I
have
do
to,
have my report, if you guys want that.
for a seat, for a truck the size of a CDL,
Just my call report. I said I was,
CDL.
I could do it tonight or
How long does it take?
2 minutes.
you don't.
Yeah, if you came prepared to give us a report, it's gonna give us a call report.
Scooters has a food truck coming up and then the Juicy Shannys.
Well, you can, yeah, let me take your.
Are they driving by me?
Yeah, he's the other side.
So basically, this is just Dryden's chief's report that we typically give Chris. Did you get it? You'll have to- So in January, we answered 26 calls. And I'm just gonna brief you guys, can look over the statistics. Average firefighter per call was 7. Average en route time was 3 minutes, 16 seconds. And average on scene time was 8 minutes and 22 seconds. One thing I want to clarify, the times right now that we report don't hold any. Don't hold them that they're the gospel, that was the actual time. Now that the status buttons are gone, the dispatchers are having to manually do it. If the dispatchers are busy, and because some of the call takers, it's the same person dispatching the fire call. So they're answering calls, trying to type this, listen to the radio communication. Our call to Hartford that we had for their possible house fire. The dispatcher thought he attached us, but never did.
Yeah.
So, you just can't 100% rely on the times.
Right.
If there's ever a critical incident, we do need it, we can coordinate with the 911 center and the connection. So, This is the best efforts of what it is. Sometimes a dispatcher may include the first chief officer. They're supposed to be doing the apparatus. So, and we have a lot of different dispatchers, some in training, so just when you hear a number, when it comes to times, they may or may not be 100% accurate.
What yours was, what you said, 8 minutes?
So it showed our average on scene time was 8 minutes and 22 seconds.
Kudos.
Yeah, so he wants to talk to.
And I don't have the rundown sheet for the structure fire would be a good example of when we got toned out for the structure fire, myself and a pre-built chief got on the scene. Within roughly 3 minutes of the call, our ladder truck was about 3 minutes behind that, but that's definitely not what the call notes indicate. So if you looked at it in hindsight, you'd be like, oh, wow, it took a long time for that first piece of apparatus to get there, and it was not reflective at all of that. So it happens all the time. The ambulance happens all the time. Fire calls.
So sometimes the numbers may seem really good, other times it may seem, wow.
You're doing great for a volunteer fire department.
We all do,
Yeah.
really, we do. I mean, in comparison, what nationwide the averages are.
Yeah,
like I
it's
said,
amazing.
You guys should really be proud of what you have.
And I think if you talk to dispatch as well, they would say the same thing. And if there was any questions on any calls that you may have, I would strongly encourage you to contact them. And as well as the chief officer that responded to the scene, and you can make it necessary.
For February, we had 28 calls, average personnel, and you'll see on this, it shows 8.5. We have never figured out where the other half went, but. So a lot of times we'll just round up tonight, we don't know, so you can round it either way. Average in route was 3 minutes, 4 seconds, and 7 minutes and 30 seconds is the average.
Yep.
You guys are just happy with those.
Yeah, thanks for doing that.
So it will be something like that we have to offer you. We all use the same program, so all the reports.
All the departments use the same.
Yeah, everybody uses it.
Nice.
It's helpful that we'll get it. But yeah, it's all the same reporting, PMs. So at least it's, our numbers should be relatively consistent. But again, if you have a question, you've heard about a call, somebody, feel free to ask. But then send us an email, so you don't have to wait.
Thank you.
I just want to say, I know we've had some
Great
sincere
conversation.
back and forth here tonight. I really appreciate what you guys do, gals do. It means everything to this town. I just want to be clear, what we have to do contractually has nothing to do with our appreciation for your work. And I'm sure I speak for the entire board when I say that, but thank you. And I mean that.
But
Yeah.
thank you guys for sitting there and listening to us. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
Show up.
He's gonna teach me to drive the truck. So I've taken those classes on full disclosure as part of my day job. I'm on the Cornell University's incident management team, representing facility services. I taken those trainings and I go through periodic additional trainings, so.
I appreciate that. I didn't know,
Mhm.
but if you, I would encourage everybody to serve down conflict to take something for the kids. For anything else, it's familiarization, understanding. It's not about any of this, if you break way, you know. I'm never saying it's new to the board, but she's done it for a while, but she's new it out of it. So give her a opportunity to what that is all about.
Yeah.
I didn't ever even wonder she's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Christina's statement.
I like that. That's a good sales. I would teach the course.
Give you an idea of how it's been run.
Yeah.
As it gets bigger, the command structure gets bigger.
Yeah.
And it gives you an idea of how we operate, and when we get called to multiple calls like we were talking about, gives you an idea of how that breaks out. And how each of them comes in, and how those will all run. It would just help explain to you better on how.
Yeah, and I look forward to learning from you guys how you utilize it, because you can take the training, but that doesn't mean you understand how people do the communication handoff and who has the baton and all that stuff. So I look forward to learning more. A lot of other people do, so the phone is on, so.
In all seriousness, if you're interested in learning a specific component, we can set up a custom. For example, I did that with talking with our council. There was a lot of questions and so an 8-hour meeting before that. Actually seeing the equipment, touching the equipment, and understanding why we do what we do. Like history to how we communicate that. That is an open book for any time that if you was a group or an individual want to sit down, come to the training or participate in that way.
It would be way more fun than the FEMA trainings online.
And I don't think there would be any department in this town that wouldn't answer your question. If you had a question, hey, how, why, we do this, more than happy to answer the question.
Right.
So, you know, we talked about that. It's all about communication.
Yep.
We're pretty good with that. You know, we're getting better with the town. As we discussed before, how many times have we had discussions with the town? How many years has it been since the town takes like that? And that's, so we're in a whole new realm already, that we're already including things back.
Yeah.
And we're gonna have things back. It's going to happen. But at the end of the day, we come to a conclusion and that's what it's all about. That's why we need to.
Public safety is key. I mean, if we don't have that, we don't have much. When you get right down to it.
And I think the communication is that gonna help with better understanding of what you need, what we need, where you're going and where we're going. And that needs to keep up. Otherwise, we're gonna lose sight of it. It's getting way more complicated. We need to make that much. God forbid we have.
I mean, you didn't use Chat GTP, I'm kidding. Scared of that once.
All right, cool.
But thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
If there are any questions, feel free.
Yep. All right, thank you.
We sing a song now?
Yes, please.
No, I'm not gonna sing a song. I don't sing. Sorry.
We have so few things on the agenda.
Yeah, thanks.
Is that a one?
I don't know, cough drops.
Thanks.
All right.
Do we have more on the agenda?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple.
Yes and yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, but they're, they don't look complicated.
Well,
Solution.
That should be.
All right, so then the next thing we got is the
Your solution.
excuse me. Is
oh, this is number 8. Do we have that resolution?
yeah, race uploaded on me.
Ray, you've been so quiet.
I raced out here.
It's spinning when I click.
There you go.
Oh, you're getting some good work done over there.
So it was almost a year ago that the town board tasked the planning board with doing a zoning law update as a follow-on to our comprehensive plan update. So the planning board developed an RFP, went out unsuccessfully on the first round. So in the fall, they narrowed the scope to just do a phase 1 of that project and do the analysis of the present zoning code. That was responded to by 6 different firms. They've selected one and are making the recommendation to enter into a contract with Community Planning and Environmental Associates. Contract would be in the amount not to exceed $13,375. Deliverable would be that analysis in August. And so there's their recommendation. So they sent a draft resolution, or they sent a resolution to the town board. I used that basically to generate this draft resolution that you have before you.
I'll make a motion.
Well, when do we get to discuss?
We can discuss now.
Yeah.
I would just add that I was part of the selection committee and it was an exhaustive process. I felt like we came up with a lot of metrics to grade the applicants. And I think I mentioned before, they were all strong applicants, so the
Yeah.
decision was tough. And then the planning board combed through it even further, I don't think we're taking this issue lightly.
That's what I figured.
And I think we got a great choice.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for her to start and her company to start.
Yeah, so I'm just sharing the planning board's resolution and I'll pop the draft one up there. Ray, that Ray put together.
Congratulations, that's a huge amount of work.
So it's been moved and seconded.
It's in a second.
Was the person I have known that?
Yes.
Yes,
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 you're gonna call her?
Yep. So we can sign the contract tonight and
Great job.
set it off, initiate tomorrow.
I bet she'll be great to work with. All right,
all right. The next thing up is a resolution to set a public hearing. It's for local law to require a pilot for solar installation. So right now, the way the state law is written, when a company decides they want to come into a municipal, or any taxing jurisdiction, they have to give notice, and then unless the jurisdiction affirmatively states they want to pilot or even just have a full property taxing authority, they have to respond within, what, 60 days?
Yeah.
So by passing this, we won't have to actually send that letter anymore, so that we won't get it.
oh, it's permanent?
It's permanent, yeah.
This is a new law?
Well, no, it's always been an option under the state law to pass this. It's just. This way we don't, because we received a letter, what, the latest one, like. a month
Just a couple of
ago.
months ago, yeah. There's two active projects.
And then, but I think it was Jay Franklin had asked if he had sent around a draft of a law that municipalities could pass. So they were to send this letter out every single time, so.
I always thought that the state had this little loophole or quirky law to encourage solar development. That if they get it going, they might not even be taxed. So towns basically have to opt into tax or pilot.
Yeah, letter by letter.
So,
So
yeah, I think this is great.
so
this way we're not gonna miss it.
for these kilowatts, are these like big projects or like residential?
These are for the projects like you see,
big
like the
farms.
Carpenter Farm.
Okay,
or-
It's greater than 500 kilowatts. So most homes would be like 7 to 20.
okay.
I've got 7, for instance,
Okay.
kilowatts. But that's, half a megawatt, 500.
Now, Jason, I noticed this draft resolution has the last whereas is by adopting a resolution. No longer needs the 60-day letter, so I'm a little confused as to whether
You
Yeah.
could set a public hearing. on it.
I'm confused about public hearing or local law.
Well, this one, Nate said this is what he had sent back to us about how you have to do this. We can set a public hearing.
okay.
before
Well, yeah,
it's
you and I have
adopted.
exchanged a draft local law, which is pretty extensive. But this resolution seems to enact
Maybe
that.
that's the wrong one I'm putting out. He might have made the email. That's the draft local, that's the local law.
Yeah.
That's not in our folder or,
It's not, yeah,
no, it's just, there's like a link. Something's wrong with the link.
so is this the resolution still applies to this?
I'm not sure.
Did we usually opt in or opt out?
We opt into taxing.
Okay.
We're automatically opted out of taxing.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, but like I said, I thought they put this in the law to encourage solar.
You probably did.
You know, some well-meaning legislators, they've always had this sort of stick it to the municipalities. They tax too much anyway.
Yeah. I mean, this resolution
Very
might
cool.
be the only action required, the way I read it.
No, he said it's a local, he drafted a local law.
Yeah.
Do we take this up next week?
Yeah, I gotta sort this out. We'll pick it up next week. I don't know. Because we would have the public hearing in April anyway, so. All right, let's move on. So we have 2 volunteer board applications where.
Great. We must stop sharing.
First one was for, we had seen it last month. For the Ag Advisory Committee, Doug and Zach. So I'll move that.
Second?
Yes.
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 Yes. And then this new one is someone who's applying for planning board. We have a spot for an alternate.
Okay.
So
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Yes.
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 That's good.
So Ray, you're on this night, you know, anything for a public hearing and.
Not this month,
week?
no,
Okay.
we'll be, yeah, setting up some things for April.
All right. All right, anything else then?
Okay.
Do we have, everything I'm figured out with David's position in terms of,
Yeah, well. It's weirdly, I just have to receive the revised.
I think he's interested in like, I was talking to him and maybe coming up with like a sort of memorandum of agreement on what we expect him to do. And then I was thinking that we could get that in advance of next week's meeting. I'd circulate it if we're gonna vote on it, but we could discuss it as a board, what we expect out of the Dryden broadband executive director. And Jason would sign it, and then we would do a press release on it and announce more formally that that he's now guiding this project. So it's just something we were kind of thinking would be a good idea to. Since this is our big project, you
Yeah.
know, we need to keep
He's doing a lot. I mean,
He's
I've
doing
seen
a
a lot of stuff this week.
So, all right, so we'll work up a document for next week.
Okay.
And, do it that way. Next.
I contacted him. Got a response, got a response, I got checked with. Person who does that.
How soon do you think we can get that wrapped up by next week?
I'll tell him.
Yeah, be it by
We're
Wednesday.
supposed to be at Aspen. today.
All right, well.
Well, next week.
Second.
I don't know.
Oh,
Let's stay for another hour. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
let's talk about another difficult topic. All right, send out a high note. That's a joke. All right, somebody got it. We got a musician in the room.
We're all close.
Might- yeah, maybe. I guess not.